are you shocked that her media tour is not, at least so far, moving the numbers or quelling the panic on Team Blue?
I'm the opposite of shocked. And sometimes I think it's amazing how quickly and easily we forget even short-term memory. Let's remember that the last time she ran for president, when she actually had to campaign and debate and get votes and all of that, unlike this time, her campaign was such a disaster, such a debacle, despite every single institutional advantage, all that money from California, the stature of being a senator from California, the readiness of the media to heap adoration on her for potentially being the first ever woman of color to become president, et cetera, et cetera. Her campaign was such a disaster that she had to pull out and close her campaign before the first vote was even counted. Usually people...
So this is Megyn Kelly and Glenn Greenwald coming together and really putting the full cap of what Kamala Harris's campaign has been. Now look, for what it's worth, a lot of this stuff I find very performative, but I love Glenn Greenwald's. I love his breakdown, right? Because he's right. Whatever this media blitz was last week has fallen on its face. I personally think, and I'm not one to make predictions or say for sure, I am not a prophet or anything like that, but I personally think, I truly believe that Kamala Harris's campaign has basically fell on its face, and it's kind of a wrap to me. I mean, it really is. But let's let them break it down a little bit more so you can see why. Well, anyway, that's what I think. But let's hear what Glenn has to say.
People say the campaign's not going well. Let's try and play our hand in Iowa and New Hampshire and then see. There was no point in doing that because she was such an awful politician. And then also, the entire 3.5 years that she was vice president, she was a complete national joke, an international joke, because every time she opened up her mouth, it turned into something incredibly embarrassing and cringeworthy. And I think a lot of us did forget that in what was some very well-engineered theater around the supposed excitement that people had when she emerged, got imposed by the Democratic Party elite on the party and in the country. And people kind of forgot just how inept and incompetent she is as a politician. Their obvious strategy was based on that. Let's keep her away from the media. Let's make sure she has very, very few unscripted moments. And the problem for them is that that wasn't working. They had to roll the dice. They had to send her out on her own. And even in the most loving, embracing, gentle arms that they sent her into, The View, Howard Stern, Stephen Colbert, doesn't get any more worshipful than that. She completely fell on her face, even in...
Fell on her face, and they're gonna show you some clips, but I didn't even need the clips, because I've watched some of the interviews that she was doing. Unfortunately, I was forced to watch those, right? And again, Kamala Harris, she cannot connect at all. She has these quirks about her that you can tell that she's nervous. I have my nervous moments too, but she's just annoying with it. And these are small things that I probably noticed, but she really, this media blitz did not help. It just simply didn't. But let's look at the clips. They're about to share some clips
in front of them, and I think people are starting to realize and remember who she really is.
Yes, that one exchange with Sunny Hostin, who's been advocating for Kamala Harris since the conversation first turned to, could we sub out Joe Biden? What would we do? Would we have an open primary? Could we get Michelle Obama instead? And she kept saying, we're not interchangeable as Black women. It has to be Kamala. She can do it. She loves Kamala Harris. And it was obviously not an attempt to trip up Kamala Harris, and yet tripped up she got, where Kamala Harris answered her question about how she's different from Joe Biden, whether she would have done anything differently. And as predicted, you'll see the version of it here that Trump made into an ad literally within 60 minutes of Kamala saying it. And now there are reports today that you can expect to see this ad everywhere from now to Election Day. Here it is.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And can we talk about how that's you don't even have to edit it, right? She did everything perfect for that ad. By the way, guys, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. It really helps out a ton. Thank you so much for every eye that lands on these videos. Thank you. You know, didn't it just, she even looked up, you know, she was like, well, I don't know, really haven't, I don't know, no, nothing really comes to mind. Girl, there's so many different ways you could answer that question. And so, yeah, he didn't even have to edit it. That's the original take. And then the next thing is like, I'm Donald J. Trump and I approve this message. I'll just let her speak. I think that is, first of all, the best ad ever. I don't even need to say anything else. I don't have to do any convincing for you. She just told you exactly what I need you to hear.
And Glenn, you know, it's interesting because I'm sure they thought going to friendly outlets would protect her. But sometimes being in a friendly outlet can lead to your guard being down, and you don't realize, and I don't think Sunny Hostin realized either, when you're in danger.
I know, but Megyn, all of that's completely true, and I agree with all of that. Nonetheless, I think it's worth noting how unbelievable and remarkable and confounding it is that she cannot answer that. It was like that question never occurred to her before. She didn't say, no, I think Biden did a great job. She didn't say yet. She said, you know what? Nothing that comes to mind, as though that question had never occurred to her to even think about. She's like, maybe I'll get back to you. I can think of it later. When you're running for president and you're the vice president of a very unpopular president on his road to losing, when the country believes that everything is on the wrong track, that all they want is change, the very first question that you have to be prepared to answer in her position is, how would you have been different than Joe Biden? Now, obviously, she can't just throw him under the bus and say, like, oh, everything he did was terrible. He was a terrible president. I intend to. But there's so many diplomatic ways that you answer that. You know, 2020 is different than 2024. We have new challenges. We can do more of this, less of this. I think what happened is, this is what I really believe, is that Democratic elites really are so arrogant in terms of how non-Democratic voters think, how they process information. They really believed that they could win the election by just avoiding substance altogether. That was obviously their plan from the very beginning. And I don't think they ever really prepared her, and she's not prepared to talk about in any way what type of president she would be, because that never has been the strategy on which they were relying to win the race. It was all about these vibes, and I'm younger, and I'm different. I'm not these two old 80-year-old white guys that everyone's sick of. That gets you a little bit. That gets you a boost in the polls, like you said, that sugar high. But eventually, Americans, as dumb as Democrats think they are going to want to know, like, who is this person that we might make president? What does she believe? Where do we place her on the spectrum? What kinds of policies is she going to pursue? How is that going to affect our lives? And her inability and refusal to answer that comes from this condescension, I think, is what's really crippling her. And you saw that so clearly in all of these interviews where she got asked that question, she couldn't answer it. And in that one, she's like, I don't know. I never thought about that before.
Exactly. And so that's the thing. So the thing is, it's like just being different on its own will get you a little bit, but won't get you too far if you don't have substance and you have no kind of like, if you're superficial, if you're an airhead, if you're cotton candy, that's what I call it. Like, that's why I hate cotton candy, because it looks like big, right? And then when I put it in my mouth and then it just fizzles down to this little, like, I don't really like it, right? So, okay. I call her cotton candy because that's what she is. She's cotton candy to me. Let me tell you, because somebody will say the same thing about Trump. Oh, but Trump came on like he was different and X, Y, Z, and you know, and people voted for him because, like people said, they wanted somebody to shake up the country or shake things up inside or whatever, right? But it's different though. Trump, he ended up he was a villain. He really wasn't, but the media put him that way. So there was still a substance there. And that's the thing. Even if your substance isn't all happy, friendly, and you know, kumbaya, but people still want to know what kind of person you are, period, right? Gone are the days when we could just shake hands and take pictures with a baby, and then they say, oh, that person's presidential. That's not what this is anymore, especially in the era of social media. So again, for somebody who will say that about Trump, it is not the same thing. There is a Trumpism that surrounded Trump, and that's why he got picked. But Kamala is literally like an airhead, you can say. I mean, because I'm not coming at her intelligence. It's just that she does not have much of a personality.
Feel is the election's coming November 5th. I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, obviously.
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned about
What does Harris need to do with the month left?
All right, 7 months left. Let's start. We got 26 days.
Yep.
Today is gone. You're going to lose 4th of the hurricane. They're doing all this and sitting down with 60 Minutes and sitting down with Colbert. I have a press conference. I get to ask the question.
You'd like to see her do more press conferences?
I'd like her to put more things in place. I would put President Obama out to make that. He's only got a 92% approval with Democrats. I would have President Clinton going on these local TV stations talking about how tariffs are going to destroy the economy of Wisconsin or Michigan or anywhere else, because they have never worked. But we're just letting that go.
So is he wrong?
I mean, you have to give credit to the Clinton people like James Carville and those others, because they ran for president at a time when the Democrats were a disaster. They couldn't win an election. Going back to George McGovern, who got crushed by Nixon. The only one they won was Jimmy Carter because of post-Watergate anger at the Republicans. And then it was Reagan twice, George W. Bush the first time. And they did do a very good job of reinventing the party by focusing it not on these issues that alienate working class people or other people, but by realizing, as that old saying goes that they adopted, it's the economy, stupid. Like, all people care about is how are you going to materially improve our lives, which is what voters should care about.
And he's right. And I mean, at the end of the day, look, we could go into all the other things. What you just heard James Carville say, this is a Democratic strategist. This guy, he's full Democrat. I mean, eats Democrat cereal. I mean, he's just full Democrat, right? And he's scared. He said it. He said, I'm scared. Because he knows is she going to revamp herself in 20 days or so? Like, we are literally in, what day is it today? I mean, there's not too much time left. And they came with this big bang. All right, we switch it up. Yeah, let's put the Beyonce music on and everything. And it's like, all right, freedom. And okay. And I will say the Democratic National Convention was feeling a little bit more patriotic. And it's like, all right, exciting. But that wears off after a while. That does wear off. At all high times and euphoric times wear off after a while. So who are you? Who are you representing? Who are you supposed to be? And if you don't know by now, or if we don't know by now, I don't think there's that many people who are going to vote. I'll tell you this. People are going to vote for her literally because she's not Donald Trump. That's it. Bill Maher said the same thing too. I've heard him say it. I see you guys at the next one. Bye.